Hello students. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you could be going about doing this cloud web application builder project. So essentially the purpose of this project is to create a highly available, highly scalable website, and that is what the intention of the project is. So first of all, there are three components in this which we have to focus on. One is availability, second is scalability, and third is the website. So what I would recommend is first focus on building a website. So when you want to build a website, if you refer to your EC2 infrastructure lab, so let's see if we can find it over here. So this is your cloud foundations which you have done, and in this there are multiple labs, and your web application, this particular project actually is combining multiple labs. So one of the lab is this VPC, and then EC2. So this EC2, if you kind of repeat this particular steps, you're essentially creating a website. That the first step that I spoke to you about. And if you and in regards to database, you can refer to building a database server lab, and you're going to be using load balancing and scaling also in this lab. So how do you create a website usually? So what you would do is, so if you in this particular project, when you open up, you're going to find public subnets. So when you search for public subnets, you'll find it. So you should use one of this. So this particular public subnet, if it is a subnet, then definitely the VPC is also created. So there is a VPC already existing in this project which you could reuse, in my opinion. And in this, you can try to create a EC2 instance. And install your website over here and see if we can access from the internet. So that should be your first step, even before you make it available or scalable. Okay. So now that you know this is the first step, how do you make it available? How does anything become available? So before that, we need to, the thing is, when you install the website, you're actually installing the database also. So you could have two different approaches for this. You can either separate the website and the database now, or you could go with the availability option. So let me show you how the availability looks like. So let us go with the new one. So I'll not save this. So in order to make anything available, highly available means two different zones. So anything that you have should have this, its copy should be in two different zones. So here we have zone 1A, let's say public subnet, which is already existing in your project. So in this zone, what you should attempt to do is create a VPC with two zones, right? So this project is, this particular steps, if you look at your VPC lab, you'll find it. You have already done this, how to create a VPC with a to support multi-zone. Or even you can look at database lab, but ideally you will create a VPC in which there will be two zones, in which there will be a public subnet and so this is your public subnet, and where your website will run, and there will be a private subnet. Private subnet is where your database will run. So you should create a VPC like this in two zones, and whatever you do in one zone, you need to do it in the second zone. Here also there will be one public subnet where your website will run and your EC2. So remember, your first lab you're going to create a EC2 in public subnet. So once you have this 4 subnets, you should create your website in a way where so you can go ahead with your ELB project if you feel. So this particular project will make sure the load is balanced. So this will take care of your load balancing. Scaling and availability. So availability means if zone 1 something happens wrong, then zone 1 other zone is available, so it is highly available. And scalable means if there is a lot of people trying to access a website, then multiple instances of the website can be created either in the same zones, or you can have another third zone where another instance of website will be created. So this should ideally be your architecture of your highly available, highly scalable website. So now that you have understood, what we are going to attempt right now is try to create a EC2 where in the public subnet. So that is what I wanted to show you. So let's just go with the modules. Lab instructions. So 0.3 is already spent, so let me start this lab. Okay, so my AWS environment is ready. I'm going to open this up. So remember, the first step is to create only a website. So if you look at your VPCs, as I told you, there are subnets already existing. So there is one VPC which is already created for you when the lab starts. See here, one. So let's open that one VPC. So I've just kind of renamed it Cloud Web Application VPC, and I open this. I just wanted to use, instead of creating the new VPC, I'm using the current one. So this is your web application public subnet. I've just renamed all the subnets. This is private subnet is something I created later, but you will find public subnet 1A, and I've renamed the route table to Cloud Web Application route table. And if you notice that route table is linked to IGW, means internet access. This is a public subnet. So I can install my EC2 in this particular subnet and see whether it works. So that should be your first step. I think you should get comfortable with that. So how do you do that? So notice there are many public subnets. All the subnets have, if you notice very carefully, all the subnets have IGW, means internet access. So it is a public subnet. There is no private subnets. If you need private subnet, you will be better to go with a new VPC and repeat this process. So let us go with instances. So I do not see any instance, probably. Okay, no problem. But so what we need to do is, you need to create a launch instance, and then you can say my cloud application website server. So you need to choose Ubuntu in this case for this particular lab. So we're going to, because the website is installed on Ubuntu. Then you can choose t2.micro. So it's a smaller computer. You choose the key pair walk key, which is already existing. Then in regards to VPC, the VPC is already chosen. You need to choose the subnet, and which subnet we are going to choose? We need a public subnet. So I'm going to choose a public subnet, which is web application public subnet 1A. So this is one with the internet. I make sure auto assign public IP enable. So, and then I'm going to allow my EC2 to have access over the internet. So how can I do that? I create a new security group, and it does not automatically allow me. So what I wanted to do, but no problem. So I can add a security group rule where I'm giving HTTP access. So this is very important. I'm giving access to whom? To source type anywhere, right? So anyone can access my website, right? So rest of the configuration remains same, except that I need to install the web server, and the website on the web server. So you need to update the user data section over here. So this is something which your lab is providing. The website is, you can, the code to use the website is already available if you look at the steps carefully. Solution code PC. So when you download this, what you're going to get is a script file which is going to install your. So this is a script it is going to download. The phase 2. Sorry, is it phase 2? Yeah, I think so. So let me open it once and see. So in the end, it is better to add one more command, curl http://localhost, just to make sure you can get the status of the website. This is like browsing the website that is installed on your local box, so that we know when we are checking for the status. So here what is happening, if you notice, the database is also getting created. MySQL database is also getting created and the website is installed on Node.js. So if you notice, it is installing Node.js, and on Node.js it is downloading the code.zip, and is trying to start the Node.js server, and which in turn connects to MySQL database for all the student, for all the data, the coffee supplier data, etc. Right. So I just added this last command just so that I can verify whether things are, whether the website is working internally. Otherwise, so this part you need to go back to your lab, and what do, you paste it in the user data section. This is when the machine is created for the first time, it is going to install everything, and your website will start on port number 80, and 80 is something, is a HTTP port which you already opened up. So now that you've done, you can say launch, and it will try to launch your machine in the public subnet with the website and the database. So now that this is done, you can go back to your instance, and this is in process. So select this particular thing, and what you do is you try to go in the actions and monitor whether things are fine. So you go monitor, get system log. So you will see as the machine is getting built, so you have to wait for the status to go in green. It says in running, so let me see, but I think it's still some process is going on. So let me refresh this. So it is still initializing. So you need to keep refreshing this so that we can know whether things have completed. So both the checks have passed. It's still initializing. So when you, but I'll anyway just refresh this and to see if the logs are still coming. I think till all the checks are done successfully, it will wait. So here I can see the logs, everything is passed, and if you notice npm install AWS SDK, it's trying to execute. So what you have to see whether there is any error. It's trying to run the script, it's trying to install your Node.js and website, install the website, copy the website, install your database and so forth. And you see all the things are getting downloaded, I think it's still going on. npm install SDK is getting installed. In any case, I can try to see if the website is anyway ready by any chance. So I'll say open, take this instances, open in new link and look at my instance. So there is a website running now, so I have to just test whether my website is running. So it's in the running mode. 2x2 checks are passed. Select this, and ideally you can use a mobile to see whether the website is accessible or not. Sorry, what is happening? Okay, so I'm not sure if there's a network issue here, but ideally what you would do is you would go to your mobile and put in the IP address and see, and ideally your website should show up. So it's not reaching for some reason, so maybe there is some network issue. So I'll go to my, so maybe the installation is still going on as I told you, and that's why it's not yet ready. Your website is not yet ready, it's still going on. Okay, so it's not reaching here, but on my mobile, how do I share it with my mobile? I'm not very sure, but I can maybe send a screenshot. Is it possible if I go to incognito? And try to access. I'm not very sure why this is happening. Maybe in incognito it will work. So it's trying to use HTTPS. Why? Continue to site. So I've used a so we see. So I use HTTP. So maybe is trying to go with HTTPS, which I don't want to go with. I want to go with HTTP only. And you see the website is come up. So this is what you need to achieve. And if you try to add, the student, you will be able to add the student over here, and it will be updated in your database. So both the website and the database is running on the same machine. So Mumbai, Maharashtra, a@a.com, phone 1323, and click submit. The number should be 10-digit number plus optional. Okay, 10-digit number. So you can say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0. So you see there's an entry over here, and you can edit it. So this is a fully functional website, and that's all for the first part. Thank you.